Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wade into Wealth. I'm Chuck Wade. My brother Ethan is here. Before we get started, every time I open the podcast like that, I think of the scene from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation where the grandma, I can't remember her name, comes into the family and she's like, hello, everyone. And Beverly D'Angelo's character, who's Chevy Chase's wife, says, why don't you go on into the living room and say hello to everyone? And she goes, hello, everyone. Is that how I should say it? She's like, that's how you should say it.
That's the same one who wrapped up her cat as a Christmas gift?
She wrapped up her darn cat.
Whoever hasn't done that, you can
That's
cast
true.
your first stone. I mean, it's
True.
Wrapping up the cat for a Christmas gift is clearly an easy thing to do. And I have a cat.
You do.
Sometimes I wish I
Yeah.
didn't. So maybe that'll be a Christmas gift for one of your girls this year,
Abs-
particularly June.
Absolutely not.
June
We
would love
are, with Mr. McDimples, we are at full animal capacity.
You might benefit from
There's
a cat.
no room. But anyway, every time we start this, I think of that, and I want to make the joke to you, and in my head I do, but today I finally said, we're going to go for it. So,
Well, and I'm not a mind reader, so
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
not.
know that
You're
joke.
not.
Yeah,
You're
couldn't
not.
pick up on it.
So happy retirement planning week to you, good sir.
You too, and we come to you with a little bit more of a cozy setting. If you're taking this in on our YouTube channel, we got rid of the table. We're sitting a little closer together, and we're going to try to bring some more things in and make the set look a little bit better.
Yeah, it's a work in progress to make this a more video-friendly setup, but
It
we're
is.
getting there, and we realized the table had to go. So here we are. We ask for your patience, and
Please excuse our dust. We're under construction.
That's right. That's right. We'll try to wrap it up quicker than most construction projects, though.
Yep.
And get this squared away. But we're happy you're with us, whether you're listening on traditional podcasts through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube, where we can be found at Wade Into Wealth. We're happy and thankful that you're with us.
Go ahead and click that subscribe button.
Please do.
while
And
you're
leave
there.
a review while you're there if you found this to be of value. So we wished each other a happy retirement planning week. Happy retirement planning week to you as well. And thank you for joining us. I typically despise these things, these weeks or days. It's, National Middle Child Day or, National Second Favorite Baseball Team Week. But I was at the Brighton Memorial Library.
I think you made that up.
I did.
I think you
I
made
don't
that
know, though.
Yeah.
And I looked, and they had a bunch of investment books on display. So I walked over and looked, and I saw a little sign that said National Retirement Planning Week. And I thought, oh, that's one we can do something with.
Yeah,
So-
I think we could.
We're going to dedicate some time to that. We're going to talk about some questions that we typically will discuss with clients or that were asked either by clients that are in retirement, nearing retirement, and take it from there. So that's what we're going to spend our time this week on, if that works for you.
Well, always. Yeah,
Yeah.
always works for me. Planning for retirement, I think we often think that when we're planning for something, we should start planning for it like the day before we want it to happen. And the
It's typically
reality
how I do
is,
things.
yes, it is. The reality is it's best, especially when we're talking about retirement. I mean, retirement is not something that you just up on a whim and say, hey, I'm going to do this yesterday. It's something where the clients who we see having the greatest level of success have a plan. And not only do they have a plan, but they start that plan maybe 2, 3, 5, 10 years before they're thinking they're actually going to retire. And the real benefit with that is because if there's something else or a couple of other things that you should be doing that would increase your chances of retirement, the success, and to be comfortable in retirement and to maintain your lifestyle, you want to do them 10 years before you retire, not the day before.
Yep.
Because typically those adjustments are not accomplished and they're not done in a day's time. They're done over time, not just right before you want to retire. So take that nugget of information, stick it in your pocket, use it as you wish. Whether you're talking about retirement or anything else, any other big financial decision in your life, think about it a little bit before. Come up with a plan, because having more options only helps you in the long run, whether it saves you on tax money, helps to generate a better long-term return, or simply gives you better confidence and more peace of mind to sleep better at night when you're in retirement.
Typically, I find that it's the people who come in that are worried about it 10 years before
Yeah.
that are the ones that are just fine. And you
Yeah,
really can
yeah,
figure that out fairly soon in an interview or in a meeting with someone. It's the people that are worried about, can we do it? that are the ones that will be just fine. When you have someone that comes in a year before, and oftentimes there can be some issues there that need to get worked through. So,
Yep.
yeah, sooner certainly better than later. So I want to ask you a question because we get this. I
Well,
get this
the
a lot.
biggest
Yeah.
question that we get all the time is, how much money should I have?
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
How much money do I need to
What's
have
the
retired?
dollar amount that I need to have in my 401k or in my retirement account? And the reality is there isn't one. Because I think so many people have it in their mind that you need to have $1 million to be able to retire.
Yeah.
The reality is, if you have $1 million in your retirement account and you're going to spend $200,000 a year, you need a lot more than $1 million.
$1 million isn't going very far.
No, you're going to use that in about 5 years.
Yeah.
If you have $100,000 and are only going to take out $2,000 or $3,000 a year to cover your expenses because you have other avenues of money coming in, you're okay.
Right.
So it's not so much about the dollar amount that you have in your investment accounts, your retirement vehicles. It's more, how well do you live within your means? We went back to, this is from a couple podcasts ago, probably when we talked about doing a budget. Some of the best advice that we can ever give a client is spend less than you make. That's it. I mean, it's simple. On paper, it's simple. When we say it, it sounds very simple. It's harder to do it and be disciplined and follow that through. But the reality is, it's not about how much money you have in your retirement accounts. It's about how much money do you need to take out to cover your expenses, and do you have enough to be able to do that for 10, 15, 20, 30, sometimes 40 years of a retirement.
There's a big difference between saving money and not spending money.
Yeah.
One is a lot easier than the other, and not spending is the best way to save.
Yes.
Thank you
It is.
for agreeing with me on that. Yeah, it is. And it's more of a lifestyle question, not a question of how much money do you have to have saved up. But it's not the best title of an article on the internet to get people to look and click on.
Well, there's no sizzle
what kind
to
of
that.
lifestyle do you need to lead in retirement? It's how much money do you need to have saved, which quite frankly is a fairly archaic and outdated way of thinking of it. We need to think of it as, what kind of lifestyle do I want to lead in retirement? And if you start to think of it like that, it opens the door for more possibilities, more flexibility, and it's a lot easier to lay that out, which leads to the next thing. You know, our second podcast, I think, that we did was called Retirement is Broken. We talked about how retirement's changed over the years. What about part-time work?
We see it often, and not necessarily for the financial benefit of it. I mean, we do see some folks who will maybe step down from the job that they've been doing for decades, and if they're 50, 55, 60, 62, sometimes they will use that as a bridge to Medicare, which is at 65. You become eligible for Medicare, so that they can help keep their health care covered by an employer. But in reality, an overwhelming amount, I think you'd probably agree with this, I don't know the number, I don't know the statistic behind it, but an overwhelming amount of our clients get a part-time job not because it's part of the plan or because we tell them that they need to, but because they realize that they need to keep some semblance of a routine to keep themselves sane, but also to keep themselves healthy. Because getting out, socializing, staying in a routine, I think it's more often than not, our clients get a part-time job for the health benefits, the routine benefits, and the sanity benefits that it provides, not so much from the dollar amount that it may pay you on an annual basis to help you in your retirement.
Yeah, and it's a really good trade-off for if you are thinking about it and saying, maybe I don't want to keep working in this full-time job for as long as that year. People don't like their jobs. That's a reality. A lot of people will come in and like, I want to know when I can be done. And so part of that equation, which is more financial, will ask, what about doing something part-time?
Yeah.
And I mean, you have people who...
something with less stress that we're not miserable with.
But that can also provide you with a bridge for a period of time, whether that's making up income, whether that's making up health insurance, whatever, or maintaining your sanity. It is something that is happening more and more often. And what that also allows in many cases is another couple of years to not have to tap into your largest asset, which may be 401ks and IRAs and investments, to leave them alone, give them some more time to grow and appreciate in value.
Sure.
And then you could start to use them. So it is something. And also, I think the sanity part is really probably the biggest thing. Now, we're in we're in
absolutely.
Rochester, New York, okay?
Yeah, we have
Winters
winter.
are cold. It's no secret.
Yeah.
But for a lot of folks, they need something to do. You need something to get out of the house. And when you think about it, this is something that I think people, they realize it once they've been retired for a couple of weeks, is that in most cases, for 30 years, you've been going to work. 30 plus years.
That's been your identity.
Right. Really, since high school or college.
Yep.
You got up, you went to work. And that's what you did. You got paid twice a month or once a month, whatever the frequency was, and you did that. That was your routine. And now all of a sudden it stops.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice for a while, especially if you retire in the spring and you go right into summer.
Yeah, right.
But
yeah.
it does happen that people start to crave a routine or something to do. Now, if that's part-time work that has a financial benefit, great. For a lot of folks, it's volunteering or
Right.
doing something along those lines, something to get yourself out of the house, get some connection with other humans. And so it's certainly something I think people need to consider and most often do.
I think most of them do. I mean, winter forces them
Yeah.
to, because it's not something that we tend to go in there for that conversation and bring it up, but it tends to just come up naturally
Mm-hmm.
when folks realize how boring retirement in the winter up here can be. And then, of course, you have the other set of clients who just snowbird down the south, who, we meet with them in the summer months and the fall months, and then everything's handled over the phone in the winter months because they're not tolerating the winter.
Yeah.
But, another question that we often get, and I just had a meeting and we were talking about this and planning this with the clients, is should we pay off our mortgage before I retire? And I think the answer is, in an ideal world, that's yes. You want to have, clear out as many of the liabilities as you possibly can. But also, what we see sometimes is that folks will, now, with where interest rates are, they may sell their home that they have, and they may go downsize or go to a nicer home. And instead of putting the entire balance of their previous house down to pay off the other house, if they're getting interest rates of 3% for 30 years, we're seeing some clients say, we'll have the mortgage payment to turn around and invest that large slug of money from the sale of our existing house proceeds with the goal of trying to generate 5, 6, 7, or 8% as an average annual rate of return so that money's working a little bit better for you. That's the objective view of it. Psychological view of it is that just some people don't like being in debt.
Yep.
And if you're one if that's you, and if being in debt and making a mortgage payment every month is going to keep you up at night and prevent you from being comfortable in retirement and give you some semblance of anxiety, then I think it should absolutely be a goal to pay off your mortgage before you retire and come up with a plan with that. So there's always objective advice that we can give, and there's emotional, psychological advice. A lot of it's going to come down to your circumstances and your situation for what you're most comfortable with. Because if you're comfortable with your plan, if you're comfortable with the goals that are laid out and the roadmap to get you there, when the proverbial crap hits the fan, you're going to be far more likely to stick to the plan instead of abandoning the ship when it's at the bottom of the sea.
Yeah. One of the things that I find to be most fun about this career,
Working with me?
it's okay,
Mm-hmm.
that I enjoy the most is the puzzle that goes into answering that question.
Sure.
Because
yeah.
it's never as simple as yes or no. It's usually the question, should I pay off my mortgage, is followed by like 7 or 8 other questions
Sure.
that we ask to get to what makes the most sense. So again, it's like the how much money do I need saved in retirement question in a way. I don't know. When someone asks that, the answer is always, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know, but let's get there. Let's get to the
Yep.
answer. Let's look at what interest rate you're paying. What interest rate could you be paying? What kind of assets do you have? How much of a burden is it going to be for you mentally, knowing that you're still carrying a mortgage payment? Another thing is, how are your assets qualified? Meaning, is all of your money in a 401k or an IRA? Do you have money in bank savings? Do you have it in what we'd call a brokerage account? Something that's not an IRA, that if you were to use a lump sum amount of money, if you had $60,000 left on a mortgage, well, if all of your money is in an IRA, a traditional IRA or 401k, maybe it doesn't make sense to take that lump out because you could be taking a significant tax hit.
Well, the reality is, I mean, if you have a $175,000 mortgage, I don't know what tax bracket you're in, but let's say, if all your money's in an IRA, which was formerly your 401k, paying off that mortgage does not cost you $175,000.
No.
Because you got to pay the taxes on that distribution, which means that probably costs you $225,000 in order to net the $175,000 after taxes. So yeah, there's a lot of variables that go into that decision, and our job is to help point out the options and the pros and cons of all of those.
Yeah. So what about how your portfolio should be aligned? This is one that is always up for debate, and you can talk to 10 different financial professionals or investment or financial advisors, and you probably get 10 different answers.
Mm-hmm.
How conservative do your investments need to be when you retire?
Again, you're going to sound like a broken record,
idiot.
because it's all completely based on your particular circumstances. Right. The reality is, if you are really comfortable with capital markets, you may look at it and say, fixed income and bonds aren't overwhelmingly attractive to me, and I'm willing to tolerate the volatility that stocks give me for the long-term superior returns that they provide. We have a saying that volatility is your price for superior returns. Mm-hmm. I mean, it boils down to that. But so often, we'll have clients come in and say, okay, I'm retiring in a year, so I need to make all of my accounts as conservative as they can be. And we tend to hedge against that unless your retirement plan says you spend so well within your means that you don't need to take any risk and your bills are covered for the next 30 or 40 years. Then if that's the scenario, that's fine. But the biggest piece of it is we don't want to just invest to your retirement. Mm-hmm. You need to invest through your retirement, which means, today's a great example. Prices are going up everywhere.
Yep.
Almost everything is more expensive, which is why you need to have growing account values over time, because your bills are not going to go down. When's the last time your property taxes went down?
Never.
They're not going to.
Especially not after the real estate market that was
Correct.
The last year.
So you need to make sure that your accounts are invested in a way that you're comfortable, but that's going to provide you with the opportunity to generate the returns that you need over a long-term time horizon to maintain your lifestyle in retirement.
Yeah, and you have to look at it. It changes over time. The answer to that question changes. And I think of clients that we've had that we're having this conversation on a regular basis now, where a bond will mature or something, a preferred stock will come due. So now they have some cash that we're looking to reinvest in a more conservative manner, something that is in fixed income. Whereas 6 years ago, you could get a 4% yield on a high quality corporate bond. Well, right now, on a 6-year corporate bond that's of good quality, maybe 1 3/4%.
Yeah, you're certainly not getting 2.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So the return there is so low.
So modest.
And they just came out, we just saw before we record this, that inflation now, is averaging, almost 5%. So if you're getting 1.5% and inflation is 4.5 to 5, well,
those numbers aren't in your favor.
That math doesn't work. So
especially not over 30 years.
No, we have to shift. And so the question is, do you start to look at owning some more equity and stock investments, which the textbook may say, there's more risk there. But the reality is, if you can buy a bond from General Mills that'll pay you 1.5%, or General Mills common stock that'll pay you 3.25%, disclaimer, not making a recommendation to buy or sell.
Just pointing out an
example. Okay, well, what makes the most sense? Do you think General Mills is going out of business?
Probably not.
Probably not. Do we have faith in their ability to continue to pay their dividend?
Sure.
Sure, likely. if you look at the numbers. So these are questions and conversations that we have to have. The other thing that comes into this that's really important is, what is every one of our clients' experience and comfort with owning various kinds of investments? Our grandfather's over 90 years old. He's fine owning stocks. He knows how they work. He's comfortable with them. He understands the risks associated with them, and he understands the benefits. He's good with it.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's different, and it's our job to understand what folks are more comfortable with. And you get there by asking a ton of questions and just paying attention over time.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
how conservative do your investments need to be in retirement? I have no idea, but
remember,
we can get there.
You don't invest to your retirement.
Right.
You need to invest through your retirement.
Yeah, and the other thing I neglected to point out, bond interest, fixed income. Fixed means it typically doesn't
Not typically.
change.
Means it doesn't change.
Doesn't
It's fixed.
change. So if you've got a bond paying you 2% interest, that's what you're getting. You're getting 2%.
Yeah.
If you look at, there are a lot of companies that have a history of increasing their dividend payments over 30, 40, 50 years. That modest 6 to 10% increase a year in income is how you stay ahead of inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Because Social Security doesn't typically go up. Though, we should point out, it was just announced before we came in to retire this.
5.9%.
5.9% increase for Social Security. So
That doesn't mean you're going to have a bunch of extra money. That just means that your prices have gone up that amount, and you're getting that boost for that exact reason.
right. But typically that boost is about 1 to 2% a year.
Yep.
Now 5.9. So if you were getting $1,600 a month, you'd get $1,696 a month. So almost $1,200 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some increase, but dividends from high-quality companies typically provide the easiest and best way to have a long-term stream of increasing income.
Right.
How do you get your money from your investments when you're retired?
You just stop in. We give you a bag of
Give you a
bag
bag
of nickels
bag
and
of
quarters.
dimes and nickels. Yeah, it's super fun.
Reminds me of the time you were working for the Batavia Muck Dogs,
Yeah.
and they had to give you man,
Oh,
you screwed
gosh,
up
I
something
forgot
with
this.
change. You can probably tell the story better than me.
I'd forgotten this. Yeah, so
I did not.
this was early 2000s. I was still in college, and yes, the general manager of the team sent me to the bank. I'd forgotten about this. And he said, I want you to get, I don't know, he said like $50 in court. He wrote on a Post-it note, $50, and it said 25s, meaning quarters, and then like $50, and it said fives. So I assumed $50 in quarters and $50 in nickels. I was wrong. He meant $50 in $5 bills.
Yeah.
So I came
For your
back.
math, that's 10 of them. 10 of them.
I came back. I don't even remember how they gave it to me with all these nickels.
I don't know. They probably gave you a cart.
I'd forgotten. Well, I mean, it's been over 20 years. But anyway, I go back to the
I
office.
bet your Jeep Liberty was riding pretty low in the back with all the.
I didn't even have a
all the
Liberty
change.
then. I was probably, no, I didn't.
I
had
still the Jeep, that green Jeep that.
Either it was the Jeep Cherokee that I had that was like 10 years old, or it was one of Mom and Dad's cars.
Maybe it was the red Dodge Neon.
Red Dodge Neon. That had a
The
sunroof and a
sunroof
spoiler.
that you kept breaking. That would make Dad so
I didn't
mad.
keep breaking it.
Well,
but
that's
anyway.
how he tells the story.
So anyway, I've forgotten about that. So I walk into the office. I'm super proud of myself. Got something done. And the guy, the general manager goes, "What?" He's like, "What did you do?" and so everyone had a good laugh.
Everyone needs $50 worth of nickels.
Yeah, you do. So,
But to that point, before we got sidetracked, how do you get your money? Most of our clients, in fact, when I first started, some people would still get checks. I don't think any of our clients
Very
get checks
few.
anymore. We direct deposit it into our clients' accounts. Most clients will say, all right, if you're born on the 15th, my Social Security is coming on the 15th of every month. So send me the distribution from my accounts on the 1st. So that way you're almost simulating the bi-weekly paycheck that you were getting while you were working, except one of it's coming from your investment account and the other part is coming from Social Security payment or some sort of pension that you may have as well. Most of our clients like to stagger it so that they have money coming in at multiple points throughout the month.
And some people like to take it once a year. Some people take a big chunk once a year.
Yeah.
Some people like to call when they need it. Some people,
Sure.
Everyone's different. Anyone can accommodate anything or any way that you'd like. It is always smart and probably a good idea to have some taxes withheld at the time of distributions as well.
Yeah,
It's
when they're
just
coming from traditional
easier
IRAs.
when they're coming out of an IRA, have some taxes withheld, talk to your accountant or tax preparer, and you can come to that number. So we're coming up on 25 minutes here. What else? Any other final observations?
If you're thinking that, I need to start doing a retirement plan, do it. Don't keep saying that I need to do this. Whether it's anything, it doesn't matter whether it's losing 10 pounds or it's doing a retirement plan or it's cleaning out the basement of your house. Stop telling yourself that you need to do something. Just do it. And nothing is more true than doing that to create a retirement plan. You will likely be much more successful financially as a result of it.
Yeah, it's best to start early, but if you can't start early, just start.
That's right.
Makes good sense. So this is coming out on a Wednesday. Before we leave, do you also know today is International Sloth Day? I know you didn't.
I do now.
No, you didn't, but you do now. It's also National Brandied Fruit Day. So
I don't even know what that means.
that would be like taking dried fruit and soaking it into brandy.
Well,
It's an old treat.
Aren't you a wealth of knowledge?
Truly am.
Yeah.
I truly am. But that's a rabbit
Yeah.
hole you can go down, is looking at what day it is.
I'll leave you down there.
Yeah, I thank you very little.
Yep.
So that's it for National Retirement Planning Week. Thanks for being with us. We are happy to be sharing this journey to financial wellness with you. We'll be back next week.